I'm Ken Holder. I came to the Bloomington-Normal area in 1969. I came to teach drawing and painting at Illinois State University, where I retired from in 1998. I've maintained a studio over that whole period, right up to today, and have enjoyed the entire time that we've been here. In 1995, just to provide some context, I read Stephen Ambrose's book, Undaunted Courage, about the Lewis and Clark expedition in 1805 and 6. And I was inspired by that to follow the trail, make the trip myself, just to see it, because first of all, I'd never been to any of that part of the country outside of Missouri. And I really wanted to see what they had passed through. And it occurred to me it would be a good idea to, in the process, document the trip that my wife and I took. Actually made several trips to cover the whole area. But to document it as a kind of record for the bicentennial that was coming up. And so we started out, and for the most part, we followed the trail by road that paralleled the Missouri River and on into the Rockies. There were parts of the trip that we were able to see it from a ship or boat, the Columbia River and parts of the Missouri River in Montana. And in the process, I had some sketchbooks made up for me, special, in a variety of sizes, that I kept in my car. And as we traveled along, anytime we had a chance to stop and paint, I would take a lot of photographs as well and work from those. And I ended up with about 400 sketchbook watercolors, and then larger watercolors that I made from that, and about 100 paintings on canvas. And fairly generally, but thoroughly, covered the whole route from Cairo, Illinois to the Pacific Ocean. And these three watercolors here two of them are from the sketchbooks, the two smaller ones. The larger watercolor is one that was made later in the studio. The smallest sketchbook, the smallest watercolor here, is on the Palouse River, which is in Washington. The Palouse River is a river that comes down from the north into the Columbia River, and kind of an important crossing point. One of the side trips we took was to take a boat up the Palouse River up to Palouse Falls. And the confluence of the Palouse and the Columbia Rivers, where Chief Joseph crossed the Columbia River on the famous chase as he was running to Canada to get away from American authorities. And it has a number of other historical significance in terms of points of activity. The largest of the three watercolors is Antelope Creek. That's in South Dakota, just south of Pierre. And it was a campsite, one of the places we'd stopped for lunch as we traveled, and found out that it was the location where Lewis and Clark first made contact with the Lakota Sioux, whom they would soon engage and their first conferences. They were camping here on their way up the river, and two Indian boys were swimming down the river and saw them and swam over to their camp and told them that the major Lakota camp was just a few miles up the river from there, and that they would go back and tell their tribe that Lewis and Clark were on their way. And so that has, for us, had a lot significant coincidence there, and nice discovery. Let's see, the third, the bluffs along the Salmon River, which is in western Montana between Lemhi Pass, where Lewis and Clark had crossed over actually crossed over into Idaho. And they were going north along the Salmon River up towards Missoula, where they then turned west again and crossed over the Bitterroot Mountains. And so this was a connecting stretch in between there. And you can't see the river from here, you just see the highway parallels the river, and you can see the bluffs in the distance and the Rocky Mountains beyond that.